Number 10. The Titanic Pose. A couple in India were about to get married when they decided to do a pre-wedding photo shoot. Unfortunately for the couple, the daring photo shoot ended up canceling their marriage and canceling their lives. According to the local police, the couple wanted to take dramatic pictures while acting out scenes from the Titanic. They wanted to do the pose from the iconic scene with Jack and Rose on the bow of the boat, but the resort didn't have a motorboat available. So the couple had to get a coracle to take them in the water. The coracle wasn't the most reliable vehicle though. It ended up tipping over during the photo shoot, causing both of them to drown. To make the situation that much worse, the boat tipped over all because of the woman's high-heeled sandals. Their shoddy vessel was only about 80 feet from the riverbank. The photographer and the woman's brother were on the shoreline. As they prepared themselves for the photograph, the woman tripped over her high heels, causing everyone to fall off the boat and for the boat to capsize. The man who had been operating the vehicle quickly swam to safety, but the couple had no idea how to swim and just kind of floundered in the water until they were dead. Number 9. The Train Photo Shoot. A woman in Texas named Fredzania Thompson was killed during a photo shoot. The young girl was only 19, an aspiring model who wanted to take some risky pictures on train tracks. Unfortunately, she never anticipated that there would be a train on those tracks, and she was hit by the moving vehicle while taking photos of herself. She had been trying to launch her modeling career, but all she managed to do was launch herself through the air to her death. According to what her mother told local news, Fredzania was attending Blinn College but had recently decided to postpone her education while she pursued modeling. As she was standing between two sets of tracks on March 10th, a train with the BNSF railway came speeding directly at her. She moved out of the way. She wasn't a complete fool, but she didn't realize that there was another train coming in the opposite direction on the other track. She moved to avoid one train and was struck by the other. As you can imagine, she died pretty much instantly. Nobody gets run over by a train and lives to tell the story. And to make matters even more tragic, she was due to turn 20 just a few days later and was engaged to be married. Plus, she never did find out if she had what it took to be a professional model. The rampaging train saw to that. Number 8. Holding up traffic. In the middle of New York City, a pair of men brought traffic to a standstill when they parked their supercar in the middle of the road and then posed on its hood to take pictures. It really doesn't get much more chauvinistic than that, and thankfully, these rich troublemakers got exactly what they had coming to them. The first thing to note is that their vehicle was a gold BMW worth around $120,000. The decision to stop the car in the middle of the busy street was made by Kobe Person, a YouTube personality. 2 lanes of traffic were forced to stop while the YouTuber and his friend got out of the vehicle and started posing against the hood. Naturally, the people around them beeped their horns and got extremely angry, but one guy got a little angrier than the rest. The last thing some ordinary person wants to see on their way to work is a young kid holding up traffic so that he can take a photo shoot with his luxury vehicle. The man got out of his car, took a baseball bat out of his trunk, and casually walked over to the boys and their supercar. He then began smashing in the windshield, while the guys doing the photo shoot screamed in horror. By the time the guy got back in his car, he'd done quite a bit of damage to the vehicle. And to be quite honest, after the youngsters uploaded the video online, pretty much nobody had any sympathy. Maybe next time they want to do a photo shoot, don't do it in the middle of busy traffic. Number 7. Cat from Hell. A model had her face ripped off after bravely trying to perform a photo shoot with a real, living leopard. Her name is Jessica Leidoff, and she will never look the same again. She was attacked by the cat from hell in Germany the second she walked into its enclosure. The leopard, named Troja, was 16 years old at the time. The facility that allowed this to happen is actually a home for retired show animals. Up until this point, Troja had always been relatively well behaved, but as soon as Jessica opened the door and stepped in with the big cat to take pictures, it carved her face open with its deadly claws. According to Jessica herself, the cat attacked her so fast that she didn't even realize what was happening. The cat sunk its huge fangs into her cheek, ripping apart her ear and puncturing her head. And for those who know anything about leopards, you'll know this is pretty basic behavior. Leopards have jaws so powerful that they can crush a person's skull in one bite. It's one of their favorite attack moves. The only reason Jessica survived the ordeal is that she managed to protect her face with her hands, and the leopard seemed to lose interest after a few moments. Jessica was able to roll away from the beast and scramble out of the cage. In a rather unexpected move, Jessica actually went back to the facility to visit the leopard after she healed. She said it was part of her therapy to get over the terrifying incident. The leopard was never euthanized. As everyone agreed, it wasn't the big cat's fault. Whoever had organized the photo shoot inside the cage of one of the most powerful predators on the planet is really the one who's to blame here. Would you be brave enough to get into a cage with a live leopard just to take photographs? Let us know in the comments below. And if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe button if you haven't already. Number 6. Death before a wedding. A prestigious doctor named Dennis Ricardo Faria Gurgel was killed in a freak accident just one day before he was to be wed. The young doctor was at a photo shoot for his wedding, with everything set up by the best in the business. But when a fishing rod he was holding came in contact with a high-voltage power line, Dennis was given such a brutal shock that he died right there on the spot. The doctor had been with his fiancée at the time of the photo shoot. As they were getting pictures taken together, they were on the banks of a reservoir, each holding a fishing rod to make it look as though they were fishing, when Dennis got his hook stuck in the power line. As a doctor, you would have thought he had a bit more sense about him. He actually tried to remove the hook from the power line with his hands, and this was what caused him to receive the deadly dose of electricity. He grabbed the line with both hands, a pretty shocking move for someone who spent so much time in school. Number 5. Helicopter disaster. Rachel Jordan was sitting in the front of a helicopter beside the pilot when her life changed forever. To her left was pilot Linda Harrop, while behind her was a newlywed couple. The couple had just exchanged vows at a fancy resort near the city of Christchurch, New Zealand. The passengers were all nervous to be in the helicopter, but the couple was set on getting the best wedding day photos ever. They wanted the mountains in the background, and their photos taken from inside the helicopter. Rachel Jordan was a photographer hired to go along with them, but before any photographs could even get taken, the helicopter suddenly malfunctioned. Without warning, the helicopter started to descend, then it dropped like a rock to the ground below. Every person on board was horribly injured, with spines breaking, legs snapping, and people being knocked unconscious. The truly remarkable thing is that nobody died. For Jordan, she spent 12 weeks in the hospital bed, with injuries to her ribs, sternum, feet, and lungs. She had to have several surgeries, and only recently started therapy to learn how to walk again. As for the happy couple, they too were left horribly crippled, but made full recoveries. The reason the helicopter fell out of the sky is still unknown, with the Civil Aviation Authority saying the engine stopped in the middle of flight, but they still don't know why. Number 4. Playboy gone wrong. A Russian model named Galina Fedorova, a woman who actually posed for Playboy, recently died in a freak accident while trying to complete a photo shoot in the middle of the ocean. The 32-year-old was found dead and bloated by the Coast Guard after she and her photographer went for a swim. They were on a boat trip for the photo shoot off the coast of Sardinia and had been doing a lot of partying. When police investigated the boat, they discovered it was littered with bottles of alcohol. But this freak accident kind of smells like foul play. When the pair went swimming, the boat somehow broke away from its anchor and ended up getting beached on a nearby reef. Because they couldn't make it back to the boat, Galina ended up drowning, but her photographer didn't. He left her behind and swam to shore, where she was left to sink to the bottom of the ocean. The photographer managed to help and was taken back to Sardinia, while the Coast Guard used a helicopter to find the lifeless body of the model. The photographer has not been charged with any crimes, but there's no way to prove that he had malicious intent. But the whole ordeal is extremely suspicious. Right now, Galinia's death has been labeled an accident, but out at sea, you just never really know. Number 3. Lockdown celebration fail. A woman from Kazakhstan was celebrating the end of the coronavirus lockdown when she made a tragic mistake. She was killed after stumbling off a cliff in Turkey and falling more than 100 feet to her death. It happened while she was posing for an end-of-lockdown photo shoot. The young woman's name was Elizia Sospitsina. She had been waiting months to go out hiking in the picturesque Dudin Park of Turkey's Antalya region. The adventurer, being deprived of anything exciting for so long, couldn't help herself. She just had to take the risky photo. She climbed over a safety barrier, stood at the edge of the cliff, and told her friend to take some snapshots. There was a majestic waterfall in the background. It was a truly beautiful scene. At least, it was, until she slipped on the grass, flipped over backwards, and plunged to her death. Her friend was absolutely horrified, but she reacted quickly enough to phone the authorities and alerted them of the accident. Unfortunately, there was nothing they could do because she died on impact. Number 2. TikTok manslaughter. A cosplayer on TikTok with almost 2 million followers was just arrested in January after their friend died during a photo shoot. The popular cosplayer goes by the name Yandere Freak, real name Marianne Oliver Snow. According to the police report, Mary and some of her friends were playing with a gun. Yeah, you can probably see where this is going. The gun belongs to her ex-boyfriend. She thought the weapon was empty, assuming that her ex had taken out all the bullets before they broke up and moved out. It also didn't help that they were all extremely drunk during the photo shoot. When one of her friends said as a joke, "Oh, shoot me," Mary did just that. She leveled the firearm at her friend and pulled the trigger. Their name has not been released for privacy reasons, but we do know that Mary is currently facing manslaughter charges. But even though Mary is currently awaiting to go to trial for manslaughter, she is still posting cosplay photos on her TikTok account, seemingly unconcerned that she literally murdered her own friend. She's come under quite a bit of ridicule lately, and if her trial doesn't go very well, her lucrative TikTok career might just be over. And number 1, cosplay underwater. Speaking of cosplay gone wrong, a popular cosplayer from China recently died in the middle of a photo shoot while on holiday. The cosplayer went by the name Jovi Liu, and she had earned herself quite a dedicated following by dressing up as characters from video games and posing as a medieval princess. She was chosen to go to the holiday resort where she died by the photography company Kibao. There, she was supposed to model in a Japanese-themed photo shoot, but while she was posing beside the hotel pool, she tripped and fell in. Because she had never learned how to swim, she had no idea how to get back out again. And while you might be thinking, well, wouldn't somebody just dive in and save her? The answer is no, as she was swept under the current and dragged into the deep end of the pool. She was then trapped underwater for 3 minutes before hotel staff finally arrived and were able to get her out. Before the cosplay model made it to the hospital, she was already in a coma. The next day, she was pronounced dead because there was no more oxygen reaching her brain. The moral of the story here is that if you want to be a model and do photo shoots near the water, probably learn how to swim first. What's the craziest photo shoot you've ever heard of? Let us know about it in the comments, and thanks for watching. If you haven't yet, be sure to hit subscribe and come back again for another awesome video. See you next time.